And here we go. Spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Blackburn LE, we have the South Korean Protoss player. He is red, representing Dragon Phoenix Gaming. DPG, it is Zest. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Blackburn LE, we have the American Protoss representing Alpha X. He's blue. He is Astrea. As a reminder, because we're in the semifinals, this is a best of 5, not a best of 3. And that means we get some of these other quirky maps. Game 1, we're on Blackburn. I'm surprised. I love it. It's great. It's beautiful. Ooh, Zest already outplaying his opponents, avoiding the speed zones, getting across the map a little bit faster. Does it really matter? Probably not, but very cute to notice. The slight difference there. As they both quickly scout each other just to make sure, hey, you know, your two pylons, they're at home, right? Yes. Yes, they are. They confirm that the second pylon is in the main base. They know that nothing is being proxied. We are good. Also, hey, the joke was still awful. It wasn't a good joke, it was awful, mate. It's one of those, it's so bad it's good. Kappa. As so far, everything is pretty standard here. They have both I should talk about this. They both did go for the walls on the low ground at the natural. They are both forced to get their zealots out because both players are being as annoying as possible to delay and deny the natural base. Ooh, as neither player actually goes for a pylon block, but the damage was done. They forced zealots. Ideally, the Protoss player wants to skip these zealots and expand freely, but they have been denied that. Again, as both players didn't go for the wall on the ramp, instead at the natural, and this is because the natural is so much easier to defend. There's a ramp here, so maps like Blackburn, maps like Oxide as well are ideal for this kind of opening. And ooh, Zest being very cheeky here with a proxy Stargate. Astrea has no idea. Astrea did just have a probe in the main base, and he was scouting around looking for any kind of tech building, and he misses it completely because it's just outside the main. So we'll see if he gets prepared. Unfortunately, right now, he doesn't have a shield battery to cover his main base. So honestly, he's really vulnerable to an Oracle right now. This is terrifying. Meanwhile, the Stalker is slowly chipping away at the pylon. There are sentries to defend, no Stalkers. Oh no. So again, Zest with the bare minimum is dealing a lot of damage here. Shield battery finishes up though, and with the shield battery, Astrea will be able to defend his natural. But here comes the Oracle, and the shield battery is at the natural. It is not. Oh, never mind. We have a second shield battery in the main base. Thankfully, Astrea is accounting for this. He actually scouted this with his hallucinated Phoenix, so he knows about the proxy. Oracle dives in. Oh, shield battery is not done yet. It's a little bit late. So workers still good. Oh my god. 2 more in the natural. And the Oracle survives. Ay. Even though Astrea was able to scout the proxy, Zest, he still finds damage anyway, and he's committed. He is making a second Oracle so he can dive in and one-shot these workers. Astrea has to take this seriously, and I'm a little bit worried for him because he only has 2 Stalkers. And they're here at the natural, not in the main. But we'll see where Zest goes with this. Right now, he's looking to dive into the natural base again. Thankfully, this is where the 2 Stalkers are. And yo, Astrea is just so on point with the scouting. Just all over the place, mate. Oh, as the Oracles dive in, oh, and it looks like the Stalkers, they will be able to shut this down. Oh, they do snipe the first Oracle. 2 probes went down, but that was less than ideal there for Zest. I'm sure he wanted to keep that Oracle alive. Wasn't worth the life of those 2 probes. So nice defense so far here by Astrea. Bit of a rocky beginning, but makes up for it here in the end. And there we go. Astrea is going for that forge, so he is looking to go into +1 with those Blink Stalkers. Oh, show me the stasis. There's nothing here that shoots up. Oh my god. The stasis will go up. We'll get a decent amount of workers. 4 probes get stasis. And the Oracle is able to escape. Nicely done there, but this is so important, especially the gas here. Meanwhile, Zest aggressively throwing down a gateway in the face of Astrea. Does Astrea see it? No, he does not. Meanwhile, Zest also throwing down a 3rd base behind this, so he's expanding and setting up a proxy across the map at the same time. His own blink is later than Astrea's, but Astrea isn't really utilizing his blink, so you know, that window will close and Zest will be able to catch up. Meanwhile, his +1 will be well behind that of Astrea, but if he hits before that happens, it doesn't even matter, mate, because Astrea, his +1 is still a long way away. Here we go. Zealots are going to be pushing up the ramp. The wall is not a wall. Oh no. Oh no. Stalkers are pushing up here. Thankfully, beautiful force field does push Zest away, and if things got out of hand, overcharge is available. Zest just checking his opponent. I say checking, but he's just continuing to warp in across the map. Continuing to reinforce. There we go. Finally, +1 does get started. And this is great. Zest doesn't have to push up the ramp. All he has to do is contain Astrea to 2 bases, because Zest, unlike Astrea, has a 3rd. Oh, as Astrea does sneak a probe out, and Zest actually abandons his post. Odd choice. I do think he could have stuck around. Like, he did have the Stalker advantage, and +1 didn't kick in yet, so I think he probably could have delayed that 3rd base a little bit longer, but Zest didn't want to take any chances. He does back off. He does go back home. Did delay that 3rd for a little bit, to be fair, because again, Zest, he's almost fully saturated, at least mineral wise. And we'll see if Astrea can come back from this. I say come back. Obviously, Astrea, even though he has a worse economy, he does have a bit of a stronger army. Immediately, I love this. He has an advantage, and he's keeping that advantage. He immediately starts +2 as soon as +1 finishes. And he also continues immortal production. Meanwhile, again, Zest, he still doesn't have his robo up and running here. He's going to be able to catch up because of his economy and, again, produce a bit of a larger army here. But we'll see. We'll see if Astrea can kind of even things out a little bit more, as his 3rd base is finally going to finish up. Ooh, and Zest. Yo, time is up. I thought he was going to start... Oh, no, never mind. I don't know if you noticed there on the production tab, Zest actually started a War Prism, then he canceled the War Prism and started an Observer instead. I thought he was going to go for War Prism and just send it across the map, but looks like he changed his mind. There we go, War Prism finally on the way. And with this War Prism, he can be aggressive across the map and try and hit. And again, right now we're equal on upgrades. Sure, +2 is on the way, but it's not done yet for Astrea, so Zest could hit before that happens. Here we go. Astrea is going across the map. They do meet each other. They do spot each other even. Oh my god, Zest is even taking the gold base behind this. Jesus Christ. Here we go. Oracle looking to dive in at the moment's notice. War Prism finally meets up with the army, so Zest can reinforce. Meanwhile, okay. Bit of a run by here. Does get cleaned up. Astrea not too far behind with his own gold. And I'm honestly a little bit surprised by how long Zest is taking here to move out, but he does take out the rocks, looking for another angle to approach. Meanwhile, he does catch the army, he does spot it with his proxy. He is looking to go around it. Oh my. Bit of an awkward place to fight here for Astrea, but he does get through the slow zones. The War Prism almost got picked off, but it just barely managed to escape. Meanwhile, not the same can be said for Astrea's War Prism, as it does get picked off. And now the Immortals are exposed. No, not the Immortals. There's no War Prism to micro them. So 2 Immortals fall, the 3rd Immortal falls. And Astrea is forced to abandon his Immortals. Oh my god. And even though you could make an argument that Astrea's army was a little bit more sophisticated and better, fighting in the slow zones was just the worst position for Astrea. Ay, ay, ay. Astrea even tries to dive on the War Prism again, but he just can't do it. Zest's War Prism just doesn't die. And there we go. Zest knows. He smells blood as he dives on top of that shield battery. It goes down. We even have a stasis ward behind this. GG gets called. And Zest takes game 1. Jesus Christ. GG, well played. Zest takes game 1. And that game didn't need to end when it did. Oh god, just Astrea was just caught in the worst place possible. Solid feels bad, man. As we are diving into game number 2. Oh boy. Like I could see it happening where Zest fights with Astrea when Astrea's in the slow zone, but I'm like, oh no, maybe Astrea can get through it fast enough. Nope. Did not happen. Oh god. As we are diving into game number 2 and spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Lightshade ALE, we have the player who is leading this series 1-0. He's a South Korean Protoss representing Dragon Phoenix Gaming, DPG. It is Zest. And spawning in the top right hand corner of Lightshade ALE, we have the American Protoss. He's blue, representing Alpha X. Currently down in this series, but it's okay. It's a best of 5. We have plenty more games to go. It is Astrea. So see, the chat is catching up with what just transpired there. Again, a really rough place to fight, but at the same time, it's something unique to Blackburn. Blackburn, it's one of the few maps that has slow zones, so we shouldn't see that happen again. It was unfortunate that Astrea was caught out of position. He didn't know where the army of Zest really was, and it was just really an awkward fight for him. But we shouldn't have a repeat of that here in game 2 on Lightshade. No slow or speed zones here. The rush distance on this map is pretty small, to be fair. Armies can get across the map very quickly, so this can favor the more aggressive player. Also, as a reminder to everyone, this is per series, not game, when it comes to the predictions on this channel. Boy, I'm not going to be able to like keep up and like set up predictions every single game. if I had if like Kuro or Steel Mold or one of the other CranKy Ducklings was here to like moderate and set that up, then that'd be great. But at the moment, especially for ESL Open Cup Americas, I am all alone, so I struggle enough as it is to set up a prediction for each series. Chat should know that. Chat should know that. But okay, here we go. Once again, Zest is opening up with a Stargate, but this time the Stargate is in the main base. It's not proxied out on the map. And as I quickly check the vision here of Astrea, he did not scout it. He is unaware. He does know that there's no proxy because he did scout both pylons in the main. So he should be feeling a little bit safe here. Speaking of safe, we do see the difference between Blackburn and a map like Lightshade, where both players did opt to go for their initial buildings on top of the ramp. Astrea opening up with 2 gateways. Meanwhile, Zest skipping his second gateway to get a faster Stargate. And ooh, this time he doesn't go for an Oracle. Instead, he goes for a Void Ray. Very interesting. As we do have a group of Stalkers moving out across the map here. We have a 3rd gateway finishing up here for Astrea, so he's looking to be very aggressive with his Stalkers. But there's a shield battery. It's one of those things where, maybe you got a shield battery, you're good. You're fine. As long as Zest fights within range, okay, he doesn't ever extend. Has to be careful with this Void Ray though, doesn't want to be caught out, doesn't want to lose it for free. Meanwhile, Astrea, he's just reinforcing across the map. Again, this 3-gate opening is indicative of a player wanting to be incredibly aggressive, and because Lightshade has a very short rush distance, this is a very nice map to open up with this. As again, there we go, a reinforcing pylon across the map, Astrea looking to be very aggressive, and Zest takes note. He throws down a cannon. His Void Ray is still at home. Yo, he's even got a second. He's going to have a third Void Ray. Oh my god. The thing is, though, that doesn't matter how many Void Rays you have, doesn't matter how many shield batteries you have, if you have enough Stalkers, you can 2-shot these units, or even 3-shot, with that burst damage. Oh my god, as we can see, oh my god, a third shot doesn't connect. There it is. He does pick off a Void Ray, only for a single Stalker. Solid trade there for Astrea. Even forces an overcharge, and the overcharge did nothing at all. So Zest is in a really rough place, but that is why he needs these cannons. That is why he needs all this additional stack defense. Again, he's working off of one gateway. That's why Zest is in a really rough place right now. It's all about the micro. He needs to keep these Void Rays alive and get to critical mass. So far, he's doing a decent job. He did already lose one though. Oh my god, he's gonna lose another! Second Void Ray goes down. Only one Void Ray remaining. And again, one more volley and it will fall. Oh god, Zest really struggling here. What I do love though is that Zest, he continues to throw down stack defense. He does not stop. He just keeps throwing down more cannons and more shield batteries, and this is key here. Without it, he'd be dead. Oh god, but please, you have to be so careful with your Void Ray, Zest. Ay, ay, ay. Treat him like your firstborn, buddy. Oh god. As it looks like, oh my god, just barely keeps it alive. I don't even know how he did that. Maybe some mismicro there by Astrea, but the Void Ray does not go down. Astrea taking a lot of damage on his Stalkers. Was he trying to sneak a probe out? Hey, really? Oh boy. There we go, more cannons being thrown down. It's one of those things where Astrea goes in to try and snipe a Void Ray backs off, and all these cannons deal free damage to the Stalkers. Oh, I love this. We have a couple of adepts looking to sneak into the main base, but Zest is ready for it. Despite all of this, he had a probe ready to throw down a pylon. Oh my god, what a madman. But Astrea isn't 100% committed to this. Here we go. He threw down the Twilight Council. He is going for Blink Stalkers. It's going to take a while though. Again, this is plan B. This is not plan A. So it's a little bit delayed, and this is important because Zest has bought enough time where now he gets a second gateway. And now, it's not just going to be Void Rays to defend. Now he can start sprinkling in some more of his Stalkers, some Immortals as well. I don't know if I would like Immortals, but he could go for it. There we go, as the Adepts, ooh, they commit to the Shade. Ay, ay, ay. Not ideal there for Astrea. Throwing away 2 Adepts for free there. And Astrea, he knows he can't end the game, so throws down a third. Third Nexus gets thrown down, so he will have a better economy, but this is getting really scary because we have a lot of Void Rays here. We could see them go out across the map. Right now, Zest, though, it's a bit of a risk, right? Do you want to go across the map and expose yourself to all these Stalkers? Oh my god. Meanwhile, now he has hit critical mass of Void Rays. Astrea, he's not feeling confident enough to blink forward and try and focus down these Void Rays without losing too many Stalkers. Oh my god. Just like that, and now Zest, he's moving out across the map. Astrea, he doesn't have any stack defense here at his third base. Zest, though, he doesn't commit. He only pushes out enough to get his own third. And here we go. Now Zest is finally getting into the swing of things. He's throwing down his own gateways. He's got his own upgrades on the way. Speaking of, yo, I just realized Astrea, he's only just now throwing down his forge. I feel like that's a little bit of a mistake. I'm sure he would have loved to have thrown it down earlier. Instead, he went for a Templar Archives, question mark? I mean, with that, he can get Archons, to be fair. If he's going up against charge lots. And he is, as charge is on the way. We're going to be seeing mass Zealots coming in here. So, again, Archons are going to do well. Oh my god, Astrea, is he going for a 4th base? He has the minerals for it. Oh my god. He's crazy. Goes in, he does scout the main base with his Haluk. Does see all the production. Does take note that, hey, my forge is much later than yours. Does not see the Dark Shrine. And it didn't go for the 4th. He set up for it, but ended up going for a Robo instead. Oh, and he expands to the south. Huh. Okay. He was crazy enough to expand and go for a 4th. Just not here at the triangular 3rd. Fair enough, fair enough. He does expand vertically instead. But I am concerned because what's the detection looking like? It's non-existent. We have a Robo on the way for Astrea, and he should be chronoing out an Observer, but that Dark Shrine could come into play. Meanwhile, Astrea does snipe one Void Ray. Nicely done. Meanwhile, Zest just realized, yeah, these rocks are really hurting me, trying to like maneuver between my bases. Time to get rid of the rocks. Oh boy, and Astrea, he's trying to he's trying to find another free unit there. He was able to pick off a Void Ray earlier, but this time Zest, he is on top of his army. He is taking notes, and that Dark Shrine will finish up. But if I'm not wrong, yes, there we go. Astrea does have an Observer, so he does have detection, but only one form of it. And here we go, the DTs are coming out, and that Observer is nowhere to be found. That Observer is in the middle of nowhere right now. It needs to be at home, and these DTs are going to deal a lot of damage. Oh my god, DTs in every single base. There's one at the 3rd, there's one at the natural, 2 at the natural, and even 1 at the 4th. Ay. There we go. We did see a recall. Astrea does go back home with one of those Observers, but okay. Oh, thankfully he gets the second one out. I say thankfully. Look at how many probes just went down. 26 probes fall. Ay. To 4 DTs. Zest is sitting back pretty. He's perfectly fine. He's getting his own Archons out. Astrea has to do something. He knows he does. But what do? You can't hit the 3rd base. The 3rd base is too well defended. He does confirm, hey, the army's at the 4th. Ay. And even though Zest has a later 4th, because of how many workers he killed, like, it's fine. Perfectly fine. And because of Zest's position, Astrea can't really do much here. He has to just sit back and probe up, and maybe he'll try and find another angle to approach, but it's just so difficult to do. He doesn't have a War Prism either to harass across the map. Zest is doing what he does best, and that's defend. It's kind of weird to say that, but like even in PvZ, he does this quite a bit. Just sits back, takes his bases, and just refines his army. +3 is about to finish up. It's more than halfway done. We do have a Robotics Bay on the way for those disruptors. Still no Robotics Bay for Astrea. Astrea is being left behind when it comes to the tech. There we go, and I feel like he realized Robotics Bay is finally thrown down for Astrea, so he will be working towards those disruptors. I'm sure he's going to want a second Robo. There we go. Second Robo is thrown down as well, so he can get 2 disruptors out at a time. Meanwhile, Zest does start his disruptor production first, but Astrea is not too far behind. And Astrea, he knows where the army is, so he's trying to go around it, trying to hit that natural base. There's a lot of cannons here, so it's going to take a while to break through, and it buys enough time for Zest to respond. I love how these cannons just came into play. It's not like they're useless. Even though like there was an opportunity for Astrea to go into the natural, like the cannons just stopped him. God, meanwhile, Astrea, this is not a fight you want to take right now, buddy. The disruptor shot goes off. Does connect with Archons. Not the best connection there, but here comes another Purification Nova. And we do see Astrea. He's starting to overwhelm the army. The Zealots do come in from the north, but oh my god, there's just so much here for Zest. Again, that upgrade advantage. He had +3. He had the disruptors. just annihilates the army, and a Protoss losing an army like that, it takes a while. It takes time to rebuild. Sure, he has 2 disruptors, but that's all he has. Like, this shouldn't be enough to stop Zest. Oh my god. That could, though. Jesus Christ. Astrea, he takes out 2 disruptors immediately. But Zest, he's got more where that came from. He takes out a base. Zest, again, if he smells blood in the water, there's nothing stopping him from going up this ramp. The Purification Novas have not been reset, but now they have. Astrea, he still has a chance with these Novas. Oh, but he is being zoned out. Another Purification Nova going off. Again, not connecting, but it does buy Zest time. He will lose 2 disruptors for it, but he takes out a base. Well worth it. Not just the base, but also 19 probes. As long as he's able to escape. Ooh, loses 1 immortal on the retreat. We'll lose a couple more again. The disruptor count is here for Astrea. And here we go, the Novas go out. Does connect with the immortals. The second does as well. Only 1 immortal remaining. Oh my god, but we just have so much supply here for Zest. So many reinforcements. Even though Astrea traded as well as he could, it's just not enough. Just because of how behind he was. Oh my god. Meanwhile, Astrea, he's able to pick off the War Prism, denies the Warp in there for Zest. Again, Astrea, he's fighting so well here with so little. The problem is that he has so little. It's impressive what he was able to pull off, but in the end, Zest takes game 2. GG. Now Zest only needs 1 more to take the entire series 3-0. Meanwhile, to answer your question, Uncle Toby, I just tuned in and I see cannons. It was a 3-gate opener from Astrea, and he was being very aggressive with Stalkers. And Zest was greedy, and he went 1 gate cyber straight into Stargate. So he didn't really have a lot of gateway production. So he was defending with Void Rays and cannons, essentially. And to give him credit, he defended well. And we saw him, you know, eventually move on into a macro game, as we saw, and take game number 2. And now we are here in game 3. And we have our lobby. It is going to be Jagannatha. Can Astrea, can Max Angel, can he bring it back here? Can he make a series out of it? Or are we going to see a clean sweep? Are we going to see a 3-0? Personally, I hope not. As much as I love Zest, and I'm a bit of a Zest fan, even though I am Zerg, I don't want this to be a 3-0. I want a series to be made out of this. I want a more back and forth, and we'll see if we get it. As we are loading in to Jagannatha ALE and spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have the South Korean Protoss. He's red, representing Dragon Phoenix Gaming, DPG. It is Zest. Proving that he is best. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Jagannatha LE, we have the American Protoss, the last remaining American player in this entire tournament. We have, representing Alpha X, it is Astrea. I was about to call him Max Angel. Can he avenge his fallen comrade? Zest took out Scarlet. Now he's up against Astrea. Unfortunately, Neeb isn't here. Would have been great to see the trifecta and maybe have Zest work his way through all 3 of them. But unfortunately, that is not the case. Zest is here against Astrea. Actually, I want to quickly check, because I was told that Neeb played in EU. He did. Unfortunately, Neeb and Zest missed each other. They both played in the ESL Open Cup EU earlier today, but unfortunately they did not play. And yo, Astrea being cheeky. Let's go. So again, everything looks pretty standard here for Astrea, except obviously Zest scouts and he sees, hey, you have a missing pylon. Zest knows that there's a pylon out on the map somewhere. Is there a proxy? Not necessarily, but there could be. He does see that there are both gases. That gas needs to be spent on something. And there we go, Astrea does throw down that proxy Stargate. But Zest, he's going to be on the hunt because, again, he knows that there's a pylon missing here. He knows it's out on the map somewhere. And we'll see how he reacts to this, as he is looking to scout along the northern edges of the map. This probe here should be scouting, yep, the southern edges, and he will eventually see this Stargate well before the Oracle comes out. Aye. So we'll see if Astrea can make something happen here. If this Oracle can deal damage. Because it's going to be scouted, it shouldn't, to be honest. Zest should be able to defend perfectly fine. He should be able to get a shield battery up and get a bunch of stalkers in position. And there we go. Zest does confirm the Oracle. Aye. And he lets Astrea know that he knows, as he's being cheeky and he does attack the pylon. Oh no, and the stalkers are here as well. I think it's a little bit too late. The Oracle should come out, and the Oracle will come out. So I don't know if I like this from Zest. Again, he has a bunch of anti-air here out on the map. Meanwhile, the Oracle is looking to dive in. At the same time, Adepts make it into the main base as well. Oh my god, Zest being punished for being too greedy here, sending his stalkers out instead of defending at home. Forced to recall, probes are falling. It wasn't the Oracle that did it. The Oracle was a distraction. The Stargate was a distraction. The Adepts are what dealt all the damage. 9 probes go down. And even though this Stargate didn't pay for itself, the Adepts made up for it. Meanwhile, here comes the Oracle. Stasis gets thrown down. Only gets 1 worker. And now we worry about Astrea. Because Zest, he's going across the map. He has a lot of stalkers here. Astrea, he will have a shield battery. He should have overcharge. But with this amount of stalkers, overcharge doesn't necessarily matter. You can 2-shot stalkers. Oh my god, instead he does go for the shield battery itself. The shield battery will go down. And without the shield battery, Astrea has to give up his natural. Aye. And even though Zest doesn't have a natural of his own, he makes up for it with this mass amount of stalkers. It's going to be so difficult for Astrea to keep this alive. Meanwhile, at the same time, the Oracle dives in, tries to stasis, but Zest is on top of it. He kills the stasis with his own probes. How metal is that? Meanwhile, the Nexus does go down. Astrea, he is stuck on 1 base, and now if Zest so chooses, he is free to take his own Nexus. But mate, he doesn't even care about that. Oh my god, he sets up a proxy Dark Shrine across the map, and there's no detection. As Astrea is getting his own Dark Shrine. Let's go. Okay, so Astrea does have an Oracle, so he can use that for Revelation if he so chooses. He can come back home with it. It's going to be a little bit difficult to avoid the stalkers of Zest, but yo, he can go for it. Again, though, he's using up a lot of energy here across the map. At the same time, Zest doesn't have a Robo, he doesn't have a Stargate of his own, so DTs could deal a lot of damage across the map as well. We're going to end up in a really weird scenario. But there's no way to warp in across them. No, never mind. I was about to say, like, there's like the DTs should like go past these stalkers, right? Question mark. Never mind. They get warped in outside of the main base of Astrea. They are sneaking out across the map. Meanwhile, we should see the same done here for Zest. There we go. Zest is going to hit a little bit faster because of this proxy, but the Oracle came back home. Revelation is available. He does reveal the DT. I think it was by accident as well. But here comes another DT. Aye. Solid force field there. Astrea on top of it. He knows. He sees. And the DTs do nothing. Meanwhile, across the map, the DT shows up and there's no detection. I think this is it. This is over. GG gets called and Astrea, he puts the points on the board. GG. We do not have a 3-0, people. We are getting into game 4. It's happening. Meanwhile, oh my god, it's been so long. Papa Duddles in the chat. I apologize if I messed up the meme a little bit there. It's been a very long time since I've seen you in the chat. Welcome, Duddles, welcome. For those wondering, who the hell is Duddles? That's a good question, and you should ask that. As we are diving into game 4. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Romanticide ALE, we have the Korean Protoss player. He's red, representing Dragon Phoenix Gaming. DPG, it is Zest. And spawning in the top left-hand corner of Romanticide, we have the American Hope, the American Protoss. He's blue, representing Alpha X, putting up points on the board. It is Astrea. The battle of the DTs, mate. That was beautiful. Meanwhile, shout out to Geralt in the chats. Dzień dobry. I don't think it's morning, but that's the best that you're gonna get out of me. Oh god, what's up, Geralt? For those wondering, he is a Polish Protoss, bit of an up-and-comer. A lot of hype around Geralt. He even played in this tournament. And Geralt, you're a madman for staying awake right now. Kuro, who's also in Poland, she passed out hours ago. You should not be awake right now, mate. What's going on? Hashtag that gamer sleep schedule. Oh god. Ay. Meanwhile, we do have Astrea once again being a little bit cheeky, sending his probe out on the map. Just like the previous game, Zest does have a probe here. He will spot, hey, your second pylon, it's late, it's missing, it's somewhere out there. And even though last game Zest was able to scout to the Stargate, it didn't stop damage from being done. As Astrea does throw down that pylon, but it is a fake out. He does not commit to a proxy, going for more of a mind game instead. Again, the last game he went for a proxy, so now Zest, he's hyper aware of that. He may overcommit to a defense of something that's non-existent. That's the ideal scenario here for Astrea. Meanwhile, Zest is opening up with a Stargate of his own. And he's also scouting an actually, will he see this? Will he spot the pylon? As we quickly see the vision, and he will not scout the pylon. Ooh. So again, in the back of Zest's mind, you know, he's out here scouting, looking for something that isn't there, or it kind of is there. But regardless, Zest is opening up with a Stargate of his own, and this is a little bit dangerous, as Astrea has no idea because he himself didn't go for a probe scout. I love how everyone in the chat said that. The meme is still alive. Who the hell is Duddles, mate? We love you, mate. We love you. As a serious answer to that question, if people in the chat don't know him, one, he's a part of Formless Bear Sluts, which is an amateur team, but also he used to be a part of Dank Shrine, my mistake, Dank Shrine, which was a podcast series, like an interview series for different people in the scene, whether it was Korean players or North American players or community figures even. So you can definitely check that out on YouTube. It's been a while since it's been an episode, but I have heard some rumblings behind the scenes that Duddles does want to bring that back at some point. The passion is still there. Meanwhile, Zest did go across the map with that Oracle, and it was immediately pushed away by Astrea. Astrea does have eyes on it with this hallucination, so it's going to be difficult for Zest to really find any damage whatsoever. Astrea is on top of it. Beautifully done. Meanwhile, Zest is actually fanning out his stalkers right now, just trying to catch anything, and yeah, we are having a more of a longer game here, which is what we would expect on a map like Romanticide, right? Like, it is a much more larger map here, the largest map in the map pool, and oh my, Zest throwing down an aggressive gateway. Quite interesting indeed. This is one of those things that I mentioned earlier where there are times where Zest just completely foregoes upgrades, just ignores them completely, and he's just gonna send it across the map, mate, as he warps in another round of stalkers, looking to be very aggressive here, and Astrea has to respect this. He does have a shield battery and a cannon here to defend at his natural, but I don't believe he's really caught on to what's going on here. He does send out a hallucination across the map, and that will definitely help, as Zest is throwing down another gate. Oh boy. Here we go. Stalkers are being warped in. He is consolidating his army, sending everything across the map. Astrea is looking to check, as he does go and he does see, hey, you don't have a forge. You know, you only have gateways. Like, I feel like something is amiss here. And he would be correct in that. Unfortunately, he didn't see anything though. He didn't see the pylon, he didn't see the stalkers. Now he finally will, as Zest does show his hand. And now Zest is looking to blink straight into the main. Gets in, and there's nothing here. All the stack defense was at the natural base. We'll see if Astrea has enough to defend. He does have a decent amount of stalkers. Ooh, the Oracle does go down. And it looks like Zest will be forced out. Not before getting a lot of probe kills though. I say a lot. Only 3. What's important about this as well is that it was a bit of a mistake on Zest's part, but he lost his Oracle. Without that Oracle, Zest can't blink into the main base anymore. Even though he just reinforced his army, like, he doesn't have a sentry, he doesn't have a hallucination, he doesn't have any way to get high ground vision right now, so he's kind of stuck out here. And, you know, he takes his Q to expand, he takes his third base instead. He had already started charge as he was being aggressive, so he was already working on that next step. Did finally get his forge to work on his upgrades, and this is a nice move here by Astrea. He sneaks out across the map to try and deny this third base. At the same time, Zest moves in. He blinks aggressively on top of all these stalkers, and there is not enough here for Astrea. Ay. And Astrea, he may get a cancel. No, he actually dives deeper into the natural. Oh my. And I love this. Astrea is trying to force Zest to go back home. Zest does warp in defensively. Overcharge is being used here. Astrea is going to lose his third, and Zest is going to hold on to his natural. I don't know if I like that. I kind of wish that Astrea decided to go for the kill on the third instead. I understand that he was going for, like, I guess, more of a kill move, going for the natural, but now Zest is turning around, and he's going to be able to clean this up. Forces a recall. Ay. And even though Astrea got 10 kills, sure, that's nice, but Zest can replenish that with his 3 Nexuses. Astrea taking a much heavier blow there, losing his third. At the same time, you could also argue that Astrea going for the natural was to force Zest to go back home, whereas otherwise maybe he would have committed even further into the natural base of Astrea. It's hard to say. But look at that, Zest is already caught up on the worker count, and he's going to not just catch up, but overtake Astrea. Meanwhile, Astrea, he is making up on that part when it comes to his immortal count. He already has 2 immortals with his main army. He does have a bit of a lead when it comes to the upgrades, but the lead isn't that substantial, so I don't think that's going to really come into play here. And yeah, in the end, both players are going to back off. And because we're on a much larger map, it is going to be a little bit more difficult to counterattack, and both players are just kind of chilling. Astrea just licking his wounds here. It's been... Oh my god, really? Doubles, are you serious? Has it really been 4 years? Where has the time gone? Has it really been 4 years since the last Dank Shrine episode? Oh my god, I'm getting old, mate. We're all getting old. Aye, aye, aye. I remember Dank Shrine as if it was like last year, you know? I still remember working on it, you know, like working on graphics and getting like players ready for interviews. Aye, aye, aye. Feels bad, man. It's something that was lost because the Pylon Show didn't really fill that gap. The Pylon Show is more about news and less about, you know, getting eyes on community figures or players. So yeah, it is a shame that Dank Shrine isn't a thing anymore. To be fair, I also know that it was difficult getting a translator consistently for the Korean players, for the interviews. That was also a limiting factor. Meanwhile, Zest does take his 4th base, so does Astrea. They're both expanding, and Zest, with that tech lead, with that much faster robotics, Bay is going straight into his disruptors, just like the previous games that we've seen in this series. He's just that little bit faster compared to Astrea. Astrea just a step behind in a lot of ways. You know, a later 3rd, a later 4th, later disruptors, if he even wanted to go into disruptors, which again, I imagine you do, especially in PvP. There are other routes you can go for, of course. You can go for like Stargates and Phoenixes and try and pick up the disruptors and cancel the Purification Novas. But if you didn't open up with the Stargate, then it's difficult to tech in that direction. It's a little bit awkward. Oof. And there we have it. Robotics Bay is on the way for Astrea, but again, it is just that much later there. And speaking of teching up and just maintaining a lead, Zest just goes straight into a fleet beacon. You could argue this is a little bit too greedy for him to just tech up this quickly. You can definitely make an argument for that. Like, Astrea currently has a supply lead. If a fight was to happen here, Astrea could definitely take it and maybe snowball from there. So Zest taking a massive risk here. Speaking of, we do have a bit of a drop with this warp prism. Oh my god, a massive warp in here. And Zest, he doesn't know, he doesn't see. Zealots, they do go into the 3rd base. Zest isn't too far behind, so he should be able to clean this up, but oh my god, this is a little bit awkward. As the Purification Nova does go off on these Zealots, thankfully didn't get too many of his own workers. And here comes the main army of Astrea. Again, this is quite beefy, quite bulky. There's plenty of Immortals, but he doesn't have any Disruptors, and that's what's terrifying. 4 Disruptors for Zest. If any of these land, it just swings the battle in his favor. Okay, Duddle. Thankfully, Duddle's the 4 years since the meme, apparently, not Dank Shrine. Thank God. Meanwhile, the problem is that because Astrea didn't do anything with his army, right? Like, it looked like maybe he was going to try and pull Zest apart and go for some multi-prong attacks, with his War Prism especially, as it's here between the bases. He has given Zest enough time to get into carriers. 2 carriers are on the way, 2 more Stargates are on the way as well. Like, this is terrifying. Astrea, he can't let Zest get away with this. Astrea is trying to get into his own Stargates, as he's throwing down his own first Stargate and going for some +1 air attack, but the army gets caught out. A bunch of Zealots are going to go down for free. Oh, are they going to go down for free? Can they get a Disruptor? They will. Decent trade, honestly. Zealots for a Disruptor? Sure, go for it. Zest clearing out some supply for the carriers. Bit ruthless, but, you know, things need to be done for the Protoss, for the color. And even though Astrea now has a decent enough disruptor count, which, I mean, to be fair, what is this? 2, 4, he has 8 disruptors? Like, that's pretty huge. But disruptors don't shoot up, and we already have 4 carriers. We're about to have 8 carriers. That's insane. And what is Astrea's response to all those carriers? Getting his own? It's gonna take a long time for this to really kick in. At the moment, his only anti-air that he has to rely on are a handful of Stalkers and 2 Archons. Archons can do a lot against Interceptors, sure, but they not against 8 carriers, mate. It's just not gonna happen. Meanwhile, we do have a couple of Zealot run-bys, but there's plenty here to defend, even a couple of DTs. Ooh, nice. By Astrea. Astrea, he's ahead in bases. You know, he does have... he does have a 5th. I don't really know what's stopping Zest from taking another expansion. He's got plenty of resources to do so. He's just being a little bit more turtley than he needs to be. But Astrea now sees the carriers. Carriers have arrived. They have been revealed. We do see 4 carriers being produced at a time for Astrea, but Astrea needs to survive long enough for them to come out. And now it's go time for Zest. Because he showed his hand, he has to move out now. The shuttle shots are going back and forth, which is great and all, but they don't matter. What matters are the carriers, the Sky Toss. Astrea is getting ready for a bit of a run by, and this could deal a lot of damage, but there's detection, and here comes the main army. Purification Nova's going back and forth. Zest trying to find a way in. He's having a hard time really, like, committing to any kind of attack. The run-by does get dealt with, and here come the carriers. Thankfully, we do have a bunch of cannons that are about to finish up, and they will help in the defense, but they're not ready, and the cannons, they're going down before they're done. Astrea, he just can't really engage with this army. The carriers are on the way, but even if they come out, it may be too late at this point. As the 5th base will go down. Beautiful blinks there by Zest. Zest reinforcing across the map with even more stalkers. Astrea, he has 4 carriers. He's making 4 more, which is great, but he's not going to have an army on the ground to support them. Ooh. Close blink there. Nice recall, able to escape. I was worried that his army was being penned in, and it kind of was, but Astrea was able to avoid that situation, that scenario, and now he meets up with the rest of his army. He's got Archons, he's got carriers. This could go his way. Zest is ahead when it comes to the upgrades. He does have +2 flyer attack, working on +3. The Archons do so well against these interceptors. Zest was actually attacking his own... Was he attacking his own carrier there? It kind of looked like he was. But there we go. He is moving up the ramp into the natural base. Carriers are being focused down left and right. The Archons were actually stuck behind the disruptors. The Archons weren't really there to focus on those interceptors, and GG gets called. There's just too much there for Zest, as he takes the series 3-1. Again, the faster transition into Sky Toss, the faster upgrades. Boy, Astrea, after losing his 3rd base, was just behind. It wasn't behind by too much. He wasn't far behind by any means, but it was behind by enough. And GG, well played. Zest will take the series 3-1, and he will advance on to the grand finals.